In the news tonight, Moanikos lockdown after 3 new COVID cases. Do not cross containment borders, warns police. And education remains a priority.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Good evening, Fiji. There are 3 new COVID-19 cases as of midday, and the Ministry of Health says these are all tied to the cluster in Moanikos, which was announced yesterday. This has resulted in the lockdown of some parts of the area. Josai Nunga has the details.
One case is from the same household as the other 5 cases previously announced in Moanikos. The other 2 cases are neighbors from an adjoining home. The Health Ministry says the close proximity of the 2 households strongly suggests there was contact at some point. This may have been before the members of the first household began their home quarantine on May 11th. Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong says given that these 2 new cases in the second household were not under a home quarantine order, the ministry has locked down the Moanikos area until further investigation can inform its risk assessment for the community. No one residing in the area will be allowed to leave. Those outside of the area who reside in the community will be allowed to re-enter, provided they acknowledge they will not be allowed to leave. Dr. Fong says early contact tracing investigation into the Moanikos cluster indicate that case 191, an extra supermarket employee, is the most likely source point for transmission. He adds the employee had Care Fiji installed with Bluetooth switched on, so their contact tracing teams have digitally logged interactions to inform their investigations. The contact tracing stemming from case 190, the security company driver has identified 29 contacts. None of these contacts have been confirmed as COVID positive. Josai Nunga, FBC News.
Josai Nunga joins us live now. Josai, what progress has the ministry made on its contact tracing?
Ateva, through its extensive program of contact tracing and testing, the lockdown areas of Naira Raki, Dokonawatu in Nukuloa and Naiseralangi, Saivo in the Ra province have each exceeded their incubation period without any new cases. As a result, the borders of these lockdown areas have been lifted. Also, Ateva, 4,000 swabs were sent to Australia today. This is in addition to the 7,000 swabs sent on Thursday. The ministry is expecting the result to arrive early next week. And the result or the data collated will determine the next step the ministry will take. For example, it might consider relaxing borders of the current or the active containment areas. Ateva, as of this morning, 63.7% of the Fijian population have been screened for COVID-like symptoms as well as their travel histories, should they may have exposed to the virus. And for your information, there are currently 65 active COVID-19 cases in isolation. Ateva.
Bunaka Josiah. People living in non-containment areas are being warned to refrain from trying to enter containment zones. The Fiji police force has received reports that people from Naitasiri are trying to cross the Sawani border to go to Nosori for their shopping. Sanenimboila reports Suva and Nosori are red zones and people are risking their lives by breaking the health restrictions.
These are crucial times and any cross-border movement will not be tolerated by the Fiji police force.
The roadblock at Sawani, not to allow people from Naitasiri to come into the Nosori town and also in Suva. I just want to clarify that we are not allowing people from Naitasiri to come down and have their shopping or any other activities that they would like to do in the Suva and Nosori containment zone.
Sawani village Turanganikoro and Rembatingai says they fully support the Ministry of Health's protocol in the fight against the killer virus.
We have government officials who came this morning to relay the message. We know that it's for our own benefit, so the village elders are working to ensure that no villager cross the border.
Measures have been put in place to assist the people get access to essential services within the Sawani containment border. Naitasiri is one of the non-containment zones, and police are working to ensure it remains free from COVID-19. Sainiani Boila, FBC News.
Staying indoors is the best solution for Joseva Rangitawa, a Nandali resident who is just a few blocks away from the family who tested positive for COVID-19. Rangitawa says the villagers are being cautious as more positive cases have been registered in Nandali. Sainiani Boila reports.
Halting all movement is the best way to stop the spread of COVID-19.
We are on lockdown from last week Friday till date. And there is zero tolerance of movement, so the employers in our areas are not engaged to the working place, and there is no mobility to the nursery town for buying groceries. So there is advantage too for us. We spend some of times in our backyard for farming.
Rangitawa says they are happy with the support received so far.
First swab test and a second swab test we are having it today. And we also thank the government for the ration that have been delivered today.
Nandali Village Chair William Wainingolo says the last thing they want is more positive cases in the village.
Some youth were arrested last week because they were drinking in the containment area here, so we don't want that to happen again. We're working with police to ensure that the village is safe and that the virus is contained.
Nandali residents are hoping for the best as they continue with a 14-day lockdown. Sainiani Boila, FBC News.
The Ministry of Education has assured parents and teachers that it is not neglecting the continuation of the education of children. School holidays have been extended yet again, and the new term will begin on June 21st. Minister Rosie Akbar says just because children are at home, it doesn't mean their education is doomed to become a COVID-19 casualty. Kritika Kumar reports.
The safety and well-being of all children and teachers remain paramount.
We urge parents to make every possible effort to engage in the children, make every possible effort to ensure that the children are doing some form of academic and informal activities while they remain home during this month of extended closure.
Schools nationwide were closed on April 20th as a precautionary measure after the first few cases of COVID-19 were announced.
All our efforts, ladies and gentlemen, is aimed at making sure that Fiji is once again COVID contained and we once again regain our normalcy. The sooner we defeat this virus, the sooner we can get our lives back. We can only do this if we work together.
Fiji Principals Association President Imosi Kalaurawai says they are working with the ministry to provide supplementary resources to the students.
We totally support our ministry in whatever advice they are giving at the moment, and also we are hoping for the best in the future.
The ministry is urging parents to be supportive as the mental health of children is more fragile and they react to stressful situations in different ways. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Isolation and quarantine can traumatize certain people, says Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong. Dr. Fong says self-isolating can have an adverse impact on people's mental health, and the ministry is working towards making the isolation facilities less distressing and more friendly. Kritika Kumar reports.
The Ministry of Health is working with relevant stakeholders to assist people in isolation.
Isolation means that you are secluded. Seclusion means that you are away from your family and the people that provide you mental sustenance and emotional sustenance. And to be away from that group for a period of time is always going to be a problem.
Dr. James Fong says it is important to provide counseling services to the individuals.
Moving forward, we should be able to get a better grip on that, on trying to help people's mental and emotional well-being while they are in isolation.
Empower Pacific mental health specialist Prem Singh says they have provided counseling and mental health screenings to some of the families in isolation in Lautoka.
And we are also, our services are still operational across all the hospitals where we have our branches, and of course to the wider community.
Empower Pacific has also been providing psychosocial support to the health staff based at the command center in Lautoka. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Up ahead, digital portal to fast-track business passes and rations for those who missed out. The food ration team, spearheaded by the Economy Ministry, distributed an estimated 3,000 food packs to families in the Suva-Nosori corridor. Ministry of Economy Coordinator Kamal Gandar says they started distributing the packs from 8 a.m., targeting families who sent their details to *161# but did not receive the pack during the 4-day lockdown. He adds they are trying to distribute the allocated food packs by tonight. Gandar says during the distribution today, they've seen that a good number of Fijians need this assistance.
When our teams are on the ground, what we are also seeing and our team leaders are advising us is that the more other people who are also requesting for ration. But at the moment, we're trying to fill up the list when the people who had requested through *161#. So we're trying to deliver to those people today and try to meet the request that came in earlier.
The Ministry of Commerce and Trade will now be the only one to issue digital passes to businesses from May 31st. This means no other passes will be valid for businesses from next month. The ministry has created COVID Pass, a digital portal where businesses with COVID-safe plans can apply to operate. COVID Pass is a convenient one-stop shop for all the necessary approvals required for businesses that can operate in a well-managed COVID-safe way. This includes the movement of goods and personnel during curfew hours.
Through this COVID Pass, the ministry is taking a health-first approach. We hope to see this adopted widely by the business community. The portal will not only allow us to make better decisions and make them more quickly, it is safer.
University students are amongst those facing significant challenges with the online studies during this pandemic. Access to online material requires data, technology and support that many can't afford. Christiane Uluwai reports that student association bodies for tertiary institutions are working with management to address this situation.
We are now in 2021.
Manasa Navarra, a final year University of the South Pacific student, says virtual learning can be difficult.
It's very challenging for me, I would say, because, you know, as a person without the gadgets necessary to assist in terms of doing online learning.
There are students relying on the generosity of family and friends who are willing to share their smart devices.
You know, I have cousins and family members who are helping me out. They've been offering their gadgets or whatsoever, their time, their money, in order for me to complete my assignments on time.
Fiji National University Student Association president says they have made recommendations to best support their members.
But we have recommended the university to provide flexible learning, flexible assignment submissions, flexible assessments for students. There should not be a fixed deadline.
FNU Vice Chancellor Professor Toby Wilkinson told FBC News that they have negotiated free internet access for students to the university sites. Meanwhile, the University of Fiji will launch its internet radio station called The Vox tonight. Programs will include items designed to restore work and study balance within the university. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Fijians in and around the Suva-Nosori corridor were out doing their Saturday shopping today, and most were seen adhering to the health protocols. FBC News today visited markets and noticed that shoppers and vendors had their masks on and were taking every necessary precaution. Lena Reese has more.
Many families look forward to Saturday to stock up on not only their groceries, but also on fresh produce. The Suva City Council workers were managing the movement of people at the Raiwanga market. With COVID-19 restrictions in place, market vendors are having to travel to the containment borders in Nosori, Sawani and even in Wainandoi to purchase root crops as well as vegetables to sell at their stalls.
At times when customers come by, I had so much understanding for the hardships we're all facing. I give free produce to those who can't afford it, or at times sell them at a very low price.
Stringent measures have also been put in place at the Langere market, where the Nasinu Town Council staff were ensuring that people have their masks on and their Care Fiji app active before allowing them to enter the market premises. We're all trying to make ends meet. Some of the vendors are selling at lower prices to help those who might not be able to afford it. Closed businesses and empty streets because of the Suva Nosori lockdown last week. This week saw Fijians out doing their shopping, maintaining physical distancing and the wearing of masks. Several vendors who did not wish to appear on camera say they are supplying vegetable to their neighborhood during the week and have not ruled out the option of delivering fresh produce to their regular customers. Lena Rees, FBC News.
Water Authority of Fiji Chief Executive Barry O'Mudson has resigned. The WAF board has accepted his resignation, which was tendered on Wednesday, citing personal reasons. The board has acknowledged the contributions made by O'Mudson, which saw significant improvements across multiple sectors. The board has begun the search for a new chief executive.
We are nursing some assets that aren't the best in some cases as well too, and we have a very good operations team who are balancing through valves the system. This is mainly in Suva.
Turning overseas, both Gazans and Israelis count the costs of 11 days of fighting, with many civilians on both sides skeptical about what's been achieved and how long it can last. In sports, Suva volleyball hopeful, and Fiji Batis shines in Warriors win. This and more after the break. The Suva Volleyball Association hopes things will normalize by July. While the 2020-21 season ended successfully, the next season will begin in September. President Kimweli Naingama says if the pandemic is not contained by mid-year, the competition's calendar will be affected.
We'll start off, the next season will start off in mid-September and spill over to April next year. And hopefully by then that things will normalize. We hope as volleyballers by June or July things will start operating back to normal, and it will be a good opportunity for us to start the season.
The halting of sporting events due to the COVID-19 pandemic came as no surprise for weightlifting Fiji. They had a plan ready on how athletes can continue training when the COVID-19 restrictions come into effect. Coach Henry Elder says the athletes adapted quickly, having faced a similar situation last year.
We had put in place some measures. You know, if the lockdown were to come about again. So we had talked to our athletes that in this case, in instances like this, that we would send them out programs.
Fiji-born Chona Nareki continued his impressive form, helping the Highlanders secure a Super Rugby Trans-Tasman win last night. The former All Black Seven star scored a try to help the side clinch a 25-15 win over the Western Force at HBF Park in Perth, Australia. Fiji Bati Marcelo Montoya made an impact for the Warriors, bagging a double in their win against the West Tigers last night. The Warriors bounced back from their Magic Round loss last week with a sizzling 30-26 victory. Nemani Nandolo and Kini Murimuribalu's Leicester Tigers missed out on a first European trophy. Generally cloudy conditions and showers were experienced over the country today. In the west, mostly cloudy and very humid. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, warm conditions with a mixture of clouds and sun. In the north, heavy showers this morning, followed by a couple of showers this afternoon. At sea, moderate to fresh northwest winds, gusty at times. Winds becoming southwest to northwest later tonight, moderate to rough seas. The next low tide is at 9 p.m. with high tide at 3:23 tomorrow morning. Sunrise is at 6:27. Outlook for tomorrow, expect showers to ease over the western parts of the country from tomorrow. Elsewhere, it'll be cloudy with some afternoon or evening showers. For Sunday, that's tomorrow, some showers and possible thunderstorms over Levu, Taviuni and the Lau Group. Brief showers over the southern parts of Itilevu and Kandavu. Partly cloudy conditions elsewhere. Recapping our main stories, Moanikos locked down after 3 new COVID cases. Do not cross containment borders, warns police, and education remains a priority. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we're asking, has the Suva-Nosori curfew helped contain COVID-19? Visit our FBC website to answer. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos by email to fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also download our app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news for tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow. Wanamamba.